So we watched all of these clips right now, and the Back to the Future argument, right, which was amazing, which went over my head, but I just read the lines as usual. Um, how does a conversation like that come about?
Well, I think it started, we were talking about a date in the movie that happens that was coming up, that Steve Holland was.
Yeah, so we realized that the future, the 2015 future, Back to the Future was coming up, and we started talking about the time travel of it, and we started drawing out on the whiteboard in the writer's room, just like the characters did on the show, this argument about whether the time travel made sense or not. Because I took this sort of logical point that there was a flaw in it, and I think Jeremy had the opposite wrong idea, that it made sense.
Sure, that's a great way to put it. Well, if he had the almanac in 1955, what if he lost it before 1958? That's all I'm saying. But yeah, so we were writing on the whiteboard, and pretty much what we were writing on there ended up in the show. So I was Leonard, Steve Holland was Wolowitz, and then Eric actually just started talking about time travel, and he became Sheldon. So.
Well, I think it was during that conversation, I was just trying to clarify if Leonard would say has or had, just what would sound better conversationally. And Eric very sweetly thought I intelligently meant in the context of time travel. And that's, Eric, that's where this whole discussion about what is the proper tense came up.
Right. I don't know if this is the time or place to get into the tense system for inconsistent time travel stories. But the real issue is the retroactively self-negated past perfect. Because I have to have, you might think, and again, I don't know if there's any appetite for this level of minutia here, or how deep an appetite it may be, perhaps terrifyingly deep. That you might think that the way you would handle time travel is you just have a tenseless language, and you just date every utterance, and it wouldn't matter what tense you were using. But actually, that's wrong, because from the perspective of the speaker, certain things are completed. That's the perfect. And certain things would have been completed but weren't because of what he's saying right now. And that's a retroactively self-negating past perfect, which Sheldon introduces the CBS audience to when he says never had, haven't, had.
Best part of that scene, watching Jim, Johnny, and Simon struggle with it all week, and me not having to say one thing. It's nice being the foreigner on the show. So what else comes? What are some of the stories that have come from real life this past season? I know you guys we did the episode about the drone, about the helicopter drone.
You had brought it down.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was from you had one. You have one.
I was given a drone for Christmas, and I couldn't make it work. I could not get it to work, so I knew that the writers at 2.5 Men couldn't fix it. So I brought
So
it.
it's his show.
So
It's
I brought
okay.
it to the Big Bang writers, figuring these are the smartest guys in the world, and they'll fix it, and they couldn't. Bill thinks he did, but he didn't, and we actually had an episode came out of it in which...
When Sheldon is getting frustrated, flicking that switch on and off 10 times, that was just Bill and Saladin in the writer's room, flicking the switch on and off 10 times and never getting it to work.
And it actually does say that in the instructions that you're supposed to turn it on and off.
At least 10 times.
At least 10 times. The instructions are that stupid.
For the record.
Fix it, Bill. You didn't fix it.
I am a former software engineer. Saladin has a degree in engineering from MIT. We took a look at it.
They did identify that it wasn't working, so they did.
First, that's reasonable. We confirmed that Chuck was right. It was not working. And we spent some time with it. And we got to the point where we made the determination that the problem was that the BIOS had to be updated.
Had to be updated.
So the flash memory BIOS had to be updated.
And the instructions were not clear.
You guys are probably getting an idea of why we left this part out of the episode.
So, and then at some point we brought in an expert who was a pilot and an expert on drones to fly the drone.
He was
And-
17 years old. Literally, this kid was 17 years old. We've had big stars on our TV show, but this guy was the biggest diva of any person. I was like, great flying skills. He's like, thanks, bro. I was like,
But it's very important to me to set the record straight that Saladin and I approached him and said, here's what we were going to do next. We were going to update the bios, and as Saladin is my witness,
Yes.
he said, that sounds right. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That was
Okay,
good enough
so that's
for me.
what we were going to do next. So although we didn't actually solve the problem, we created a framework where the problem would have been solved.
I just want to point out that we know that they're called drones, but it's just so much cuter to hear Kunal say helicopter.
helicopter. How do I say it? Whatever. David Salzberg, who is our science consultant, rock star, who makes sure that everything is correct and still gets 1,000 hateful emails a day from us. You were really nervous about the topic of Leonard and Sheldon's paper, correct?
That's right.
Can you
the
tell us
writers-
why?
The writers asked me to come up with a discovery for Sheldon and Leonard, and it would have to be a significant discovery. So I thought about it quite a bit, and we came up with something related to superfluid vacuum theory and the space-time of the universe. And I added a little bit, which I thought was kind of cool, about surface tension, which had not really been used before. So I thought this was really pretty good. And I submitted it. And I get the scripts, each time a few more pages. And the next time I got the script, I saw that one of the people in the show who will be reading the script was Professor Stephen Hawking. At which point I had a little bit of a panic attack. My fear was that he would look at the script and say, I'm sorry, I actually can't agree to be in the show. Which luckily didn't happen. On the upside, I was hoping he would think it's a brilliant idea and write a paper. I'm still waiting for that.
Why don't we take a quick couple of questions from the audience, see what happens. Yeah, anyone? It's the first question of the day, so no pressure. Yeah. It's a group discussion? It's just one question, seriously.
We're determining who goes first.
Funny quick story about Stephen Hawking. When Stephen Hawking came on set for the first time, he came to watch a run-through, and Simon Helberg, Wolowitz, had to do the voice in the scene in front of Stephen Hawking. And all of us are doing the scene, but we're secretly looking at Stephen Hawking from the corner of our eye to see how he would respond. And he was smiling. He was loving it.
He loved it. He's got a great
He was
sense of
loving it.
humor.
Another funny story.
Should I tell them the time? I directed the first scene with Stephen Hawking and Sheldon, and there was no weirder moment in your life when you look at Professor Hawking and say, action.
Again, Stephen Hawking has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, he luckily has a good sense of humor. I guess we're not going to get any audience questions tonight, so we'll come back to a few audience questions in a second.
If
But
you don't have questions, it means we've communicated it. So you're like, okay, we get it.
I want to ask though about the fan fiction,
Right.
because last season we heard, we just saw the clip. We heard Amy's fan fiction, and I just want to know what inspired that.
We had become aware that there was quite a bit of Big Bang Theory fan fiction out there in the world, and one day in the writer's room, we looked it up and started reading it, and we kind of went into it thinking, well, this might not be so great, and Steve, you were reading it out loud to the room.
Yeah, I just
and what
Googled
happened?
some randomly and was reading it out loud to the room, and we started off, a little bit nervous about it, and then we actually kind of got wrapped up in it. It was a story about what happened to Amy on prom night that wasn't a part of the episode, and it was actually sort of like really sweet and affecting, and so we started off it started a little bit as a joke reading this, and then we really kind of got into the story and what was happening.
So just the way that Penny and Bernadette started goofing on it and get so wrapped up in Amy's fan fiction is absolutely what happened to us in the writer's room with the Big Bang Theory fan fiction that we found.
I feel like you cried a little bit. I mean, you're kind of an easy cry, but I remember you did.
Well, okay, so I mean, is there going to be any Kutrapali fan fiction or anything like that? Wouldn't that be amazing?
I think that might be a better question for the woman who plays Amy.
Ah, do you want to ask her? Hey, Mayim, you want to come out and answer that question for us? Mayim Bialik, ladies and gentlemen, surprise!
And since you were asking about fan fiction for you, the writers and I took the liberty the other day of writing some Kutrapali Amy fan fiction, and I happen to have it here. If you wouldn't mind giving this a read.
Share the mic.
Yeah, are we standing together and doing this?
We stand together.
Can you hear like this?
Yes.
Can you hear? You should say your lines into the mic because it's a big audience.
Okay.
Did we just warm up for 1 second?
Amy looked at Kutrapali, peering at the stars through his telescope. She had always thought of him as a friend, but now something was different. She'd spent her life studying the brain, but she had a feeling tonight this Swami of love was going to teach her about another organ. He looked up from his telescope, met her longing gaze, and said,
Have you ever read 50 Shades of Grey? I'm about to introduce you to 50 Shades of Brown.
Amy replied, that doesn't make sense. Gray was the main character's last name. Kutrapali pulled her close and said,
That kind of semantic nitpicking is going to get you a spanking.
Oh my. Then I should point out that semantic is the wrong word, you sexy beast from the third world. He whispered into her ear,
Forget about Shamey. Tonight, you and I will be a sweaty, tangled mass of Kutrapemi.
In that moment, Amy wondered what she had seen in Kutrapali. She knew who she needed to be with, the sexiest people of all, television sitcom writers.
Oh, man. We gotta take a question from the audience. I'm sweaty.
No?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So I thought season 8 was kind of awesome. And,
You should wear a shirt that says so.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you like that, you should see this. We hope, anyway. We hope. Season 9. So after the finale, a lot of Shamey fans have a lot of questions. But what I really need to know for my own sanity is when Sheldon bought the ring and when he was planning on giving it to Amy.
Let me answer that one.
I don't know if we want to answer your question directly right now, but I can tell you that the answer will be in the premiere episode of season 9.
It will?
Well, a partial answer.
Mayim is listening very carefully to Steve. I don't know if you heard it. Mayim just said, "It will."
You know, from the actor's point of view, in all honesty, we don't get the scripts until the night before. So we tape on a Tuesday night in front of a live audience, and Tuesday night we get the script that we're going to start on Wednesday. And it's really exciting, and to be completely honest, almost 9 years in, every Tuesday night still feels like Christmas. Because you open the script, and in the first few seasons, it was like, okay, how many scenes am I in, you know? And now it's really become like what's happening in the story, and that's a testament to how these characters have grown and how incredible these writers are. We'll take another question.
Great to see you guys again. My question is about Amy's character. As she's evolved into a full-time character, will we know more about her past and her family, aside that she can't eat a banana the right way?
Well, I have no idea. I would love to know all those things as well. As Kunal said, we don't, we kind of live these characters week to week. These are the people who know more about us than we do. So I don't know those things.
Yes.
You may learn she had a great uncle who didn't always play by the rules. I'll just say that.
Yep. One more.
Hi, my name's Marshall Force, and my question is, in the episode where they signed the roommate agreement, Leonard and Sheldon say that they would go back in time 5 seconds from when they signed if they ever invented time travel. So when they sat there and wait, and then they don't show up, then they would accept that they don't invent time travel, creating a paradox where they never attempt to create time travel.
Yeah, but when they said that, they might have been wrong.
But I used to write on a piece of paper, if I invent time travel, come back 10 minutes from now in a writer's room and put it in my wallet in front of everybody. And I would watch, in 10 minutes, people would start to look around.
Well, what was the deal with that corpse that looked just like you with that message in his wallet that we found in the bathroom?
You're getting a glimpse of what it's like every day in the writer's room. I will take one more question, and then I have a question also. Your mic isn't working.
Your microphone.
Can we have anyone who can fix that in this room?
Can you whisper to someone who yells really loud?
Saladin and Bill, go try to fix
it. Saladin and I will come and fix the microphone.
They can tell you that it's broken.
Yeah. Oh, wait, it's working now. Okay.
You fixed it.
Yes, I did. Okay. My name is Sabrina Batchelor. My question is.
Your last name is Batchelor?
It's spelled differently than the TV show, but
How?
yes. My family.
Bachelor is an English surname that might be used to identify an unmarried person of the same name.
Okay.
John Bachelor, to distinguish him from someone else and it becomes a surname.
I'm already asleep. But how do you... Bill and I have been... Oh, wait.
You've identified the problem.
Exactly. No, sorry. That's a lovely last name. So you want to ask your question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
My question is for all the writers. What is your greatest difficulty in writing, and what happens when you face it? What do you do?
Sometimes lunch is late. It's terrible.
I think one of the biggest challenges for us is any of those episodes where there are big, heavy moments, like when Sheldon told Amy, "I love you" for the first time, or these kinds of things. So we care about these characters deeply, and it's very important to us that we get those kind of moments right. And I think that's when the stress levels probably raises up to the highest, when we're in the middle of those kind of scenes. Like, wow, Leonard's going to propose to Penny, and she's going to say yes. How are we going to do this, and how are we going to make that worthwhile for Leonard and Penny? So I think those are the biggest challenges for us.
I think but there's also the challenge, I think, in writing comedy, which is you want characters to do bold, funny things, but you have to show that the bold, funny things are reasonable. You have to show that it's the reasonable next step in the progression, and sometimes that can be difficult. And if you don't do it right, then the characters just seem crazy. So,
I think the most difficult thing is emotional honesty and not copying something you've done before, but giving the genuine, honest response to the moment. And there's no answer to that other than to face the difficulty, because if you knew what the answer was already, then you'd just be sort of, copying yourself. So it's in the same way as in life. Sometimes you're faced with situations where there's no rule, and you just kind of have to dig within and be honest. I think it's the same thing if you're writing something hard or something real.
I have a question for you guys then. When you're pitching jokes in the room, do you pitch them as the characters?
Are you asking if we do your accent?
Yeah.
Only for you.
Really?
No, really only for you. And
I know
not for
Bill
the
does, because
characters.
Bill has a good
No,
Indian
everyone
accent.
does.
So you pitch the jokes in the accent?
of course, that's how you would know how they would sound.
Thank you, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's good. All right, so we've had some really fun guest stars this season. Any good stories or any favorites from the writers?
This was pretty fun. So Kevin Smith was on the show this past season, and he was supposed to be coming to the run-through, the rehearsal for that week. And that morning, my assistant said, Kevin wants to know if it's okay if he could bring his friend. And I said, who's his friend? And she says, I don't know, some guy named Jay. And I ran down the hall saying, so my God, Silent Bob is bringing Jay today. So you either knew what that meant and you lost your mind, or you didn't care. But I know you were very excited.
I lost my mind. I lost my mind so hard that I tweeted about it and then got reprimanded by Warner Brothers because it was supposed to be a surprise, but I was freaking out. It was crazy.
I remember when Billy Bob was on, and we were all, we were in the scene with him the first day of rehearsal, and we're like nervously doing the scene, and he's also nervously doing the scene, and then he stops in the middle of the scene, he looks at us and he says, I can't believe I'm here. Because his mother loves the show so much and got him hooked on the show that he was watching it, and he was doing a scene with me and Simon, and it's like, and he couldn't believe that it was real, and we couldn't believe that he was real. That was fun. That was a fun moment for us.
Billy Bob Thornton was one of the nicest people that we ever met, and he came and he worked very hard. And then after the show, when we tape on Tuesday nights, there's pizza and beer backstage, and people sort of hang out, and if people have brought friends and they meet people and stuff like that. And Billy Bob stayed until he kind of closed the place. They're sort of, turning the lights on and playing closing time. And Billy Bob he didn't want to leave.
Posted up with a slice of cheese pizza and a Diet Coke.
We also had Nathan Fillion on.
Oh yeah, he's dreamy.
I had met Nathan Fillion previously at a Golden Globes party, and it was like pretty deep into the party, and I was feeling super brave. I was like, hey, Nathan Fillion, Firefly was a good show. And someday I'm gonna make $1 million and buy it and make both our dreams come true. And he was really nice, but then he came on the show, and so I kind of walked up and I was like, hello, Nathan Fillion, it's nice to meet you for the first time. And it's great, because it turns out celebrities, if you meet them, they don't remember, so it kind of doesn't matter.
Or so they say. So we did the episode where we had to shoot a different ending to the Skywalker Ranch episode when Jim and Johnny end up at Skywalker Ranch. And we shot the ending, and then a week later we had to shoot a different ending. Do you want to talk about that? That was an interesting story.
You want to discuss the ending that didn't air?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just reading it from the pages that you guys gave me. Sorry. If you don't see me next season, you'll know why.
The first ending that got shot, we found out at the end that Sheldon had stolen a lightsaber from
Skywalker
Ranch, and I was deeply troubled. I just no, the character couldn't commit what was essentially a felony. He'd stolen something that has real value. So we came back a week later, and I don't even remember what the other ending was. But no, Sheldon was never going to become a felon. As long as I'm engaged in the show, I really, that character can't possibly commit a crime like that. So that was, I think, how the second ending came about.
What was the second ending now? Do you remember?
His sense of smell was still burned off from being tased, and Leonard, I think, was having him sniff magic markers to see if it was coming back yet.
So I have a question. So when Sheldon stole the print of Indiana Jones from the movie theater and ran down the street, is that not a crime?
We have to go rewrite that one again, too.
Mayim, I have to ask you a personal question that's on everyone's mind. How is it to kiss Jim Parsons on The Big Bang Theory?
It feels weird to qualify it. Like, it's great. You know, I think,
details, Mayim, I think, is what they want.
Yeah.
A lot of details.
I think whenever our
We're not looking for a philosophical answer.
Well,
here.
well, you're gonna get one. Whenever Sheldon and Amy have intimacy, it's usually very specific, and it's very gently placed. And you know, that scene that was in the reel of us opening a scene kissing, even Jim and I felt so strange about that because our kisses have never been, you know, kind of like make-outy, you know, and even that, we both know how to kiss differently than our characters do. But, you know, I remember Mark Sandrowski, our director, you know, we tried it a lot of different ways, you know. At one point I was...
You're welcome, audience.
No, at one point I had my hand on his shoulder, and then Mark wanted like a little bit of movement, but not, you know, very elegant movement. So I think for me and Jim, kind of everything we do that's intimate, you know, including that is very crafted. You know, we're never cavalier about that.
Tongue or no tongue?
I'll tell
It's
you
funny for
later.
two characters who haven't kissed. He sure spanked you a lot.
Is that on your little piece of paper? Or
No,
was that
that
improv?
was all in here. It's really fun being an actor on the show too, watching the other actors in scenes, because we're also such big fans of each other. And on a personal note, watching, you know, Mayim and Jim are also wonderful, wonderful close friends off stage. But watching the scenes together is electric. So even in rehearsals, we'll just sit and watch their scenes, and it's really, truly, we become fans, you know, to watch the scenes between them. It's really fun.
But Mayim, you and Jim have a very particular I'm not making a joke. You have a very particular process that is interesting to watch. Could you talk about how you and Jim sort of work through and decide how to play a scene?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is, you know, Jim is a classically trained actor, and I'm an untrained actor, but what's kind of neat is that we have a very similar way that we go about approaching scenes and approaching our work, and we work well together, which I think, you know, is very important, especially for, you know, as Steve indicated, things that are heavy and delicate, especially for a character like Sheldon's, and then, you know, Amy as his kind of counterpart. Jim and I are very, very careful about how we do things. We talk a lot about it. You know, some actors don't talk a lot, and that's fine, and that's their process. But Jim and I do talk a lot. We wonder sometimes why the writers make decisions. We have conversations of, gosh, did you think we were ready for this? I didn't expect this. And even with I Love You, Jim and I were both we were very surprised that we were there, you know? Even The Ring, we have those conversations, and to me, I think that adds to the complexity of the interactions as characters, because when I have to tell him I need time off, you know, that had all of those conversations that Jim and I had behind it. Is this right? Is it not right? So I think it's part of what makes our communication as actors well, is that as people, we're interested in the same things about those characters.
And we want to do it right. We want to do the writing, you know, give the writing the justice that it deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll open up to some audience questions at this point.
Hi. So I'm Jonah, and first I just want to thank you guys, because I was here a few years ago, and you just helped fulfill my make-a-wish. Just want to say thanks.
Oh.
And, and Back to the Future was first mentioned this season. Are there any other big, popular, new or old shows, fandoms that you want to, or even can tease is going to be in the show?
We did a fun little bit with Ghostbusters this year that I think Bill has a great story for how we were able to use Ghostbusters in the show.
Did you get paper too, like Kunal?
I skipped over that question.
working
Sorry. Good one.
Well, I have sort of the interesting perspective of not being full-time on the show. I will sometimes walk in and learn about a problem as I came in, and one of the things was that there was a piece about Ghostbusters using the clip featuring was it featuring Bill Murray?
Yes.
Yes.
And that they discovered at the last minute they didn't have permission to use, and the studio, I can't remember what studio that is, wasn't giving them permission. And I said, okay, I think I can help. It's going to involve being really rude to someone I know. But Chuck and I know Joel Murray, Bill Murray's brother, because he was on Dharma and Greg, a show that we worked on. And I hadn't talked to Joel in like 3 years. So I said, okay, I'll call up Joel and ask him if he'll call his brother. And so I called Joel and I said, this is one of those phone calls where I'm being a horrible person, and can you call your brother? And so he says, well, you know, Bill Murray, my brother, is very hard to get a hold of. And I can leave a message for him, and sometimes he calls back right away, and sometimes it's a couple of months. And so he calls back and he says, Bill says, what's the name of the executive at the studio who won't give you permission? And I said, I'll get the name, and I got the name, and he said, and Bill wants to know what her phone number is. And I said, okay. And then about half an hour later, our line producer came in and said, we've been given permission to use anything we want. And apparently, this poor studio executive, her phone rang, and it was Bill Murray on the other end, and apparently he said, why are you being so mean to the people at Big Bang Theory? And then on top of that, Joel called me back and said, Bill didn't think it was going to work.
That's funny. Yeah, we'll take another question.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a really big fan. My question is, in the past, nerds have been considered not cool, but now the culture has changed to where it is. Do you think that Big Bang Theory has had a role in that, or is it so popular because of the movement?
You know, when we started, we never considered the characters nerds. Honest to goodness, we really didn't. We thought they were extraordinary. They were extraordinary characters, brilliant. We talked about them as being brilliant minds without the paranoid schizophrenia. You know, and the nerd thing kind of got attached to the show.
I think for me, because you know the starting place, and the show has moved a great distance from it, but it started with a conversation that Chuck and I had about people that I knew and real people and not made up cartoons. And one of the things that I remember very much being around people like this and being a person like this is the celebration of difference and the acknowledgement of difference and the celebration of it. And we talked about that these characters celebrate who they are.
Yeah. I would also just like to say I met some of those people, and don't worry, they're nerds.
Well, I mean,
yeah, we just didn't like the diminishment. We didn't like the word as a way of diminishing the characters. We wanted to celebrate their brilliance.
Well, and also, if I can just add, you know, I get asked this kind of thing, you know, a lot, and I feel like Much as, there is this sort of notion of like geek chic and, that maybe our show has had some part in showing that. I think what our show demonstrates is that all kinds of people can have full lives and relationships and friends, and we don't need to pathologize everyone. That's not what we do. But I think what our show also shows is that it still can be lonely to be different. And some of my most favorite moments are when I see the writers have Sheldon have that experience. So, when people ask me like, oh, you guys make, nerds cool, it's still really hard to be different. And especially for young people, if you have interests that are not aligned with popular culture, it's still lonely. And I love when Sheldon expresses that he doesn't understand some interactions, and it's painful to him. And I think that's kind of, the beauty of what our writers do. They show all sides of that.
I'm Mackenzie. I say this is the one thing that I wanted to come to at Comic-Con, and I was just wondering if there's been any challenges writing for or playing Raj, since he can be a feminine character.
What? Why are you applauding?
I don't think that's in the writing at all. I think that's all from Kunal.
I feel like we butch you up a little bit.
I know. Who was that question for?
It's a question for you.
I mean, are there any challenges writing for Raj because he's an effeminate character? Is he effeminate? I don't know. I think they love writing for him because he's an effeminate character. I don't know. Are there any challenges?
There is occasional writer's room mocking of people whose interests might extend to areas that cross gender lines. That sometimes gets written.
And it always hurts my feelings.
What?
And it always hurts my feelings when you guys make fun of me like that.
I don't.
People can like girls and musicals.
At the same time.
Not a lot of people, but some people.
All right, next question.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. We all know how Sheldon feels about Superman, the Man of Steel. Well, we also have to note that since the late 30s, we've been introduced to many aliens from other planets, extraterrestrials, if you will. We also have to note that Thor is a god. So how would Sheldon respond to the blasphemous, or perhaps the double blasphemous statement that a battle between Superman and Thor would be like E.T. versus Jesus?
What?
Let's let
what would be
Mayim
at stake?
He's not taking this one.
Why would E.T. and Jesus fight? Wouldn't they be on the same page?
Superman is vulnerable to magic. Wouldn't godly powers be technically under magic?
We'll get back to you.
And historically when Thor fought Jesus, he lost. He lost. Northern Europe converted to Christianity.
All right, we'll take the next question.
Hi guys, I'm Ken. Nice to see you. My question is, now that Howard and I am so nervous.
It's okay.
Leonard and Penny have set the date for the wedding. Have we thought about casting the mom? Maybe Sharon Stone or Heather Locklear? And on a personal note, I want to say thank you to all the writers for a great send-off. You sent it for Carol Ann Susie. I thought it was beautiful.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Ann meant a lot to us. She was a family member. She was deeply funny, deeply talented, and she passed away this year. And we were faced with the challenge of what we were going to do about that. Does his mom move to Florida and stay okay? Does the character pass away? Do we try to replace the actress? And these are all really tough questions that we had to deal with. And I think you agree, at the end of the day, the thought of replacing her was just impossible. We just cared about her too much. You had...
Yeah, Carol Ann was, she was one of the lifelines of our show. And we were very sad, obviously, we were very sad with what happened. But her laughter and her charisma and her spirit lives on our stage every single day. She was an interesting woman. She never drove in Los Angeles for 20 years, and she took the bus. So I would see her at the bus stop outside the studio, and I would give her a ride in my car. And I have this sports car that makes loud engine noises. And she would sit in the car, and before we would take off, she would say, "Rev that engine up for me, rev that engine up for me." And I would, and then she would go, "Ooh, it feels good." And then she would always tell me that people would recognize her. She'd get on the bus, and the bus driver would recognize her from her voice. And that people everywhere in the country, wherever she would go, would recognize her from her voice. And she was a really wonderful woman, and we miss her and we love her. And more than anything, she'd want us to continue going on with laughter, because that's how special she was. Take another. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm a student studying engineering, and my question is, why does Sheldon hate engineers so much?
People, hate engineers
give that to
because...
Saladin. Saladin's our engineer. Why are engineers bad, is her question.
Right. He hates what he doesn't understand.
I thought that's because Sheldon likes science.
It's on.
Oh, look what you've started now.
With all due respect.
I want to ask.
I think in the end, though, as long as people aren't geologists, we're all good.
I have a question. We did something very cool. It's not even a question. I just think it'd be fun to bring up that we did something very cool with UCLA. Chuck, if you want to talk about that for a few minutes, that would be nice.
Oh yeah, we started this scholarship for kids going into STEM educational paths at UCLA. STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, and this started a couple of years ago, actually, when we noticed that there was a trend in the United States and in England where kids were pursuing the hard sciences, and one of the reasons they were doing that was they were watching the show. And that was stunning. When this started at my kitchen table 10 years ago, we never imagined that people might make life choices based on what we were doing. And so it seemed like a natural progression to maybe we can help. So I think we have a little over $4 million in a fund, and this fall at UCLA there'll be 20 Big Bang Theory scholars starting UCLA, and we get to hang out with them and stuff, and I think if we do it right, it'll go on. It should go on in perpetuity, so we can keep doing this.
We'll take another question.
Hi, so my name is Cleon, and I was wondering, when you started the show 10 years ago, did you already have like an arc set up for where the characters were going to be in 10 years?
We honestly didn't know what we were doing at all. We really had no idea what we were doing, and I think it's pretty much well known that the first try was an absolute colossal miss on our part, and we got lucky, and we got a chance to do it again.
I think most of you in the room know what Chuck is referring to, that there was a first Big Bang Theory pilot that never aired. that never made it onto the network, and then they got another opportunity to do it.
In your opinion, Kunal, what was the biggest problem with the first version of the pilot?
Oh, me and Simon and Kaylee weren't in it.
I think he's right.
We'll take another question.
Hi, I'm Mike. Mike, no disrespect to any of the writers, but I'm wondering, as the actors, have you ever pitched a story you really wanted to see yet that hasn't made it?
I mean, they're intimidating enough, okay? I don't know. I think in the first season I tried to pitch a joke and no one laughed in the audience after doing that. And that was the last time I ever tried. But, you know, I think that there's a mutual respect. They really allow us to do what we do, and we really bank on them to do what they do well, because their words really make our job easier. So I don't think that we really get away unless you have a storyline you want to pitch.
No, I don't have a story. I've never pitched a thing and would never think to. I think people see us as, one big unit, but as actors, our job is to take what's on a piece of paper and make you love it. Make you cry, make you laugh, make you feel something. But we exist in very separate professional roles, and I think this is a great opportunity, and I'm sure the entire cast would agree. You think you love your cast, these are the people you love. This is who makes all those characters.
I gotta say, no, that it really is a partnership. We've been blessed. We have the most amazing cast. And there's a certain honesty and humanness to these people in the cast of The Big Bang Theory that allows you to love them, and vulnerability and a willingness to take risks. And it doesn't just happen by the words themselves. It really, we've been blessed over and over again with this cast. And it's stunning to see how deep and rich it is. And we, when Mayim and Melissa joined the cast, it just opened the show dramatically. So we've been very lucky as writers.
Thank you. We'll take a few more questions.
Hi, I'm Kaylin. So when we first met Amy, she and Sheldon both were uncomfortable with intimacy in their relationship, but then as the seasons progressed, Amy suddenly evolved, whereas Sheldon gradually evolved. So what made you change that aspect in Amy's personality quicker than Sheldon?
I think that Amy had really longed for all of this. She didn't have friends, she didn't have a penny, she didn't have Bernadette, and after a lifetime of loneliness and craving that, she had access to somebody who could put her on the fast track. And with that came these desires for a boyfriend, and all those other things came along with it. And like all the characters on the show, they have grown, as have Sheldon and Amy and their relationship. So it was,
I think Sheldon really needed a reason and a specific person or event that might lead to some catalytic reaction in his existence. But yeah, I think that's exactly it. Amy absolutely was wanting a life with something more than herself, and it all came quickly, as it were, and it's taken much longer for Sheldon.
But I think it's, they start out in a similar place, but for different reasons. Sheldon had backed off from the world by choice, and Amy hadn't had the opportunities. And so they started in the same, it may have looked like the same place, but it came from a very different place.
I have a question. How do you guys go about ordering lunch in the writer's room? Because I've heard that's a very sophisticated and complex ritual every day.
We have many rituals in the writing. We have lunch ordering and a system. We have Eric's life hacks that where we have to breathe. What is the thing where you breathe? You have to get oxygen.
I have to get oxygen, but that's not just me.
No. What is your... Eric came in with many life hacks to improve our life, and one was a breathing thing we were all supposed to do before we write.
That one?
Yeah, we're all, but you're supposed to rapidly breathe.
Rapidly breathe.
Eric has improved our life because he researches things to make our life better. You have.
Oh, I could show you this one.
You have.
Oh yeah, there's one.
You can save time. You can save much time of your life by this method of removing your shirt.
And I don't. This is from someone called the Russian life hacker, who I should give props to on the internet.
So that much
Not
more
as
time
fast
to
to
write.
put it back on. We'll take a couple more questions from the audience. I swear Eric did 35 push-ups in the back just to make sure that would work.
You know, I'm not naturally an exhibitionist, but when I was thinking about this, when someone suggested, I think it was Mr. Steve Milaro, that I do the shirt taking off life hack in front of 5 million people in this, this group.
It's only 4,200. It's okay.
It's only 4,200. I have pitched and written jokes where Kunal is shirtless. So how can I, in good conscience, ask you to take your shirt off if I'm not willing to take my shirt off?
I'm not going to take my shirt off. I have not shaved my chest in 18 years, okay? I'm not going to share that with 4,200 people. We're family? That's even worse. We'll take a few more non-sexual questions.
We have time for one more question.
Who is that?
Question for the writers about character choices. I've noticed that with Penny, in the early seasons, she was usually the character who didn't know. A lot of her humor stemmed from what she didn't know. And then, or suddenly, she would very much know about pop culture or about manly things like cleaning fish. But I've noticed in season 8 that's pretty much dropped, and she's usually the straight man who always knows. And I'm curious why this change.
Well, she's always been more skilled. I mean, she grew up on a farm. She's always had car repair skills and outdoors and shooting and things like that.
I don't think I think she always knew about pop culture. She certainly didn't know about the science that the guys were talking about. And what I love that there's been a progression for Penny about her knowledge of the science fiction shows that the guys watched. In the beginning, she didn't know what the TARDIS was, and now here in seasons 8 and 9, she's not thrilled that she knows about it, but she will whip out a TARDIS reference, and I that's just more growth on the part of the characters.
Can we do one last question, or am I going to get one more? One more. Okay, people are yelling at me. One more, quickly.
Really fast.
All right. Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Dave. I got the honor to see you guys at the season finale, so nice to see you again.
Thank you.
My question for the writers is, how did you guys go about conceiving of rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock? And how many times did it take to get through that successfully?
So that is, we should credit, what the man's name is?
I want to say Sam Bass. I
No.
apologize. Sam
Sam
Cass?
Cass.
Sam Cass.
Sam Cass. So Sam Cass, this is a wonderful invention by a man named Sam Cass, who was a computer programmer, and he had put it online. In the first episode where it was used, the reference to Sam was cut, and we made sure when we referenced it again that the characters said "All hail Sam Cass."
Yes.
to acknowledge this wonderful gift of a thing that we found on the internet, and Jim learned it.
Yeah,
Jim
I was
learned
in
it
that
very
scene
good,
with
yeah.
Jim. I was in that scene with Jim.
But that's
probably did not more than 4 takes. Probably. I mean, the Jim's a genius. He really is a genius.
Jim is really good at memorizing things like that in some kind of strange supernatural superpower way.
I think that's it, right? Okay.
There's one more,
Get that little guy.
one more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on, please. Please. Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Rory. I was wondering why you guys picked a soft kitty than any other animal.
But you see why we wouldn't have said like soft turtle,
Is there
for example,
is there
right?
an animal
Soft
you think would have
porcupine
been
was
better?
tossed around.
We should end with that song, huh?
Soft porcupine.
Oh yeah. We love you guys so much.